Hello, everybody. Tracy, Mrs. JDog Flanagan here with you today. I'm the co-founder and senior vice president of JDog Brands. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Tactical Treasures. Our podcast gives veterans, mil spouses, and military influencers a voice in the veteran space to speak about their service, how they're affecting their communities post-service, and to share a tactical treasure from their past that has shaped their journey in their military career, business, or life. Today, I have the honor of speaking with Matt Eversmann. Matt retired from the Army after 20 years of service. His last assignment was as an infantry company first sergeant in the 10th Mountain Division during the surge in Iraq. He spent almost half of his career in the 75th Ranger Regiment and was a member of Task Force Ranger, the unit immortalized in the film Black Hawk Down. Matt and his family live in West Palm Beach, where he runs his own consulting company, Eversmann Advisory. He is also the author of several books, one of which talks about the Battle of Mogadishu, titled The Battle of Mogadishu First-Hand Accounts from the Men of Task Force Ranger. Wow, I am so excited to have you on, sir. Welcome to the podcast, Matt.
Well, Tracy, thank you so much for including me today. And it goes without saying, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to throw it out now. You and Jerry have done so much for this community. Thank you for everything that you do in the JDog Foundation. It's really what you're doing with this podcast. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I am so excited about like your books and to hear all about that, but especially you being your unit being portrayed in the movie Black Hawk Down. And it's funny. I've heard about that movie, but it actually wasn't until like 1 or 2 years ago, last summer, or the summer before, where it was actually running on like TNT or something, and Jerry was just, doing his remote flip flu, of the channels. And sure enough, he's like, oh my gosh, honey, Black Hawk Down is on. It just started. I'm like, this is awesome. I've always wanted to see this movie. And we sat down and watched it. And I'll tell you, it was absolutely riveting. Who would have known what you and your unit and all the guys went through over there? Really amazing, amazing stuff, sir. I am just so amazed and humbled to actually have watched a movie made about someone that I know so well. Um, Tell me, what did you think about that? What? How did they contact you? Did they interview you? And how do you think they did with the truth of what really
Yeah.
happened?
So Tracy, this that it's such a surreal question for me to have. So when I answer, I hope you just take it all in the spirit it's intended, like I'm talking about a cup of coffee, because how often does this happen in somebody's lifetime that
Of course,
Jerry
yeah,
Bruckheimer makes a movie
right,
and uses you as one of the characters? So
yeah,
the short answer was Mark Bowden, a fellow Philadelphian, was working for the Inquirer, and he wound up writing this book called Black Hawk Down, which took off like a shot. And Jerry Bruckheimer read the book and decided he wanted to make a movie. The inclusion of Matt Eversmann was literally a function of showing up to work on time one day and being the first one up the steps, and the company commander standing there saying, "Hey, Eversman, go into the conference room at 9 a.m. to talk to a reporter." I mean, literally, that's about how unceremonious it was. And the rest, as they say, and the whole production thing was history. Um, all that having been said, and the reality of it all, Tracy, is that I was one guy out of about 150 soldiers that was on the ground, and there definitely could have been 149 other guys that were chosen as a character in this movie, and I couldn't tell you why it just happened to be Matt Eversmann as one of the characters in the book. And it just, I mean, it's absurd, but I'm answering your question in a roundabout way. I think they did a very good job in the depiction of this
Mm,
event, and I also think that any of us who were mentioned in the movie I hope are being good acolytes of the task force, and not only giving credit where credit's due, but showing, this movie showed, the reality of urban combat, and
Yeah,
it hasn't changed since 1993. I mean, you could fast forward to Fallujah, fast forward to what's going on, in the Ukraine today. I mean, they want to know what it's like fighting in the city. Watch Black Hawk Down. So I think
right.
that Bruckheimer and Ridley Scott get good marks for the movie. Not perfect, but pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, it was amazing, that your unit, I mean, you had to travel so many blocks just to get to your guy who was in the helicopter, and then you got stuck in that building, and ugh, I it took you forever to get there, it seemed like it was, and, yeah, I mean, wow, very, very eye-opening. I I I thought the movie was wonderful. I mean, I was on the edge of my seat, the entire time. I felt that they did a good job, and glad to hear that they kept it very much true to form. So we
Yeah,
were
they
really
they they did.
experiencing it.
You know what? And I would encourage, any of the listeners, if you haven't read the book, you should. Because as good as the movie's only about, it's Hollywood, and it's about, you know 80% accurate, which is good enough that you get the
Right.
whole. If you didn't read the book, you could watch the movie and be like, hey, okay, I understand kind of all the big events that happened. But I would encourage people to read the book to actually get the most accurate
Mm,
explanation of the battle. And Mark Bowden does a really good job of explaining it. So, but either way, I think what you do walk away from it is, and it's true not only of the Black Hawk Down, but the last 20, at least up until last year, the last 20 years of warfare we've had in the Middle East, and young sons and daughters and
mm,
brothers and sisters have been carrying a lot of water and lifting a lot of heavy stuff for us
right,
overseas, and it's no different than what you saw in the movie. So it's a good
right,
representation, I think, of soldiers, the modern warrior today.
right, right. You're right. Um, and also, I know we're talking about books and the movie, but you are a two-time New York Times best-selling author and a documentarian. That's quite an accomplishment, I think. And I love your books. And you can get them on Amazon, by the way, everybody. They're in Kindle, paperback, and actually Audible. Um, and I think you're really kind of telling the story of military service and things that you've experienced, and I think that's really an amazing thing that you're willing to share those stories, because I think America needs to know. I'm a civilian. Um, I come from a military family, very patriotic, but um, I think we may have rose colored glasses on as to what really goes on. So thank you. Thank you for telling the story and sharing the stories. Hello, listeners. We really want to thank you for tuning in and enjoying all the episodes of Tactical Treasures. We're talking to amazing veterans and mil spouses in the veteran space, and it's just been an amazing experience. And thank you so much for tuning in. But hey, if you want to check out JDog, look us up on jdog.com. And if you go to jdog.com, you'll find out everything about JDog. You'll be able to book a service, either junk removal and hauling or our carpet cleaning and floor care service. You can even look into our franchise, or you can even look at employment. Our JDog franchise owners are hiring all across the country, and they love to hire their fellow veterans and service members. And if you want to know more about our JDog Foundation, we're doing amazing things supporting irreverent warriors and stop soldier suicide, preventing PTSD, and combating veteran suicide. So check us out, jdog.com. Thank you. I would love to hear about your consulting firm. Tell me about that. That's alive and well today.
Well, that I like to say think alive and kicking, and post COVID, it's I
Mm,
think a lot of us are kind of revving our engines to get started. But
sure.
the thank you for asking. This idea of Eversmann Advisory, this consultancy was born out of frustration in my transition. I had 3 jobs in 10 years, and they were decent jobs for nice companies with nice people, earned a decent wage. But the bottom line, I never got excited about any of those jobs. They all basically ended badly. And looking back, I should never have taken any of those jobs. And so, when I was getting ready to, back to the drawing board, gotta keep the lights on. My wife said, "Wait a second, buddy, let's tap the brakes. Why don't we see if we can solve this problem that you keep running into?" And so this idea was, Eversman Advisory could be this transition, hub, not so much a recruiter, but we could help veterans learn, 10 years of my experiences in a really short amount of time, which the hope being that if we could introduce them to the pitfalls, walk them, talk them, explain to them what they could expect in the future, and how to search for their dream, not their dream job, but literally to follow that dream. We could get them in a better job sooner and they'd stay longer.
Right.
So
Right.
that was the idea, the genesis of Eversman Advisory. And we've had some pretty good fortune, over the years. We started in 2018 in earnest. COVID definitely put the brakes on,
Sure.
but we have um, we have enjoyed exploring this whole world of veterans transition, and most recently have been working from the employer perspective. Because shockingly, even after 20 years of war, so many employers still don't understand the military and the veteran world. So we haven't even gotten to fulfill this idea of connecting the dots for veterans, but we're chipping away at it.
Right.
So that's sort
Yeah.
of the nutshell, where we are with Eversman Advisory.
Right. And it's funny that you say this because JDog in its own way is kind of in the same space. We hear this time and time again of veterans who finally find us and realize that, this is what they want to do. They want to control their own destiny. They want to be a part of a tribe again. Working alongside of fellow brothers and sisters who served. But it is, you think, regular civilian, private sector companies would get it, and they still don't. I'm kind of in the HR hub myself, kind of exploring veteran hiring opportunities, and it's a shame. It's a shame that our civilian companies just still don't understand our veterans and what they have to offer. So I think it's great work that you're doing, in helping these veterans transition sooner, and
But
not
thank
spinning their
you,
wheels.
and vice versa. To you all too, Tracy. And it's clearly knowing the J Dog story, but I've always thought there was. I wish somebody would have told me sooner, even if they just showed me a picture that said entrepreneur
Yeah,
and
right.
told me what that was.
Yeah,
That might have nobody ever told me.
yeah,
I'm like, no, you could. So anyway, I don't mean to get off the subject, but no, you're right. And I mean, with this labor
yeah,
market we have right now, nobody should be for want. And
right.
still, we have veterans that are struggling with their transition.
True.
And
Yeah,
I don't know. We just got to keep working at it
yeah,
because
definitely.
the answer hasn't been found yet, but we'll get there sooner or later.
Yep, keep hoeing the road there. Everybody, we're having a wonderful conversation today with Matt Eversmann, two-time New York Times bestselling author and documentarian. He also has his own consulting firm, Eversmann Advisory, who helps veterans in their transition to get into their next career. Check out eversmannadvisory.com for some help in your next career post service. So, let's dive into your treasure. I can't even imagine what is your treasure. I'm interested to hear.
Okay, so I'm going to share the best piece of non-familial advice that I ever had. And I didn't even realize it at the time how profound this advice was. But I had just retired, and I was in Indianapolis for a speech, and I was giving a speech to a private like a Raymond James, one of the, those wealth management people, said, "Hey,
Mhm.
I'd like you to come and speak to my group about Black Hawk Down," which I did. And there's a very famous steakhouse called St. Elmo, and it's in Indianapolis. And anyway, I didn't know anything about anything. And the long story, not so long, Tracy, was that the founder of this little boutique firm was an older gentleman. When I say older, probably like in his 80s, and he was past president, founder, past president, and letting all the new guys do their thing. But he sat down for dinner with me, and we were just chatting about the business. I'm not a finance guy, and sort of just nodded gracefully. And I said, "What do you do every day?" And he said, "Well, the short story was, he's like, all I do is keep an office, but I I require that every new employee has to sit with me before they go to their desk on their first day." And he said, "I always tell them the same piece of advice, and that the punchline is, he tells these guys, if you hang out with $500 people, you get $500 clients. If you hang out with $5 million people, you get $5 million clients." And sort of let it go with that. Of course, my first blush was like, "Oh yeah, hang out with rich people, and good things will happen." And I kind of just let it just dump my hard drive and never thought about it. But all of a sudden, months and years later, as it just kept haunting me in a good
Mhm.
way. It just kept popping up, this idea, like, what was he trying to tell me? And I think there's a couple of things, and one of them is that as veterans, when we were making transition, we underestimate ourselves, and we box ourselves in, we constrain ourselves to what we're comfortable with. And if you didn't grow up with a lot of dough like me, and you didn't make a lot of dough like soldiers, you tend to put yourself, I think, honestly, in that figurative $500 box, when it's like, what, if you would poke a hole in that and look out, there's a much bigger box you could look into. So I think there's that idea that don't limit yourself, never limit yourself. And it's not just going from 500 to 1,000. This is going from 500 to 5 million. Dream big. And the worst thing that happens is it doesn't work out, and then you try it again. So that was one lesson I started chewing on over time. And then the second piece of that, as business came, and I think maybe, I wouldn't put words in your mouth, Tracy. You've been doing this longer than
Mm.
I have, but when you start actually getting into, the transactional piece of business, and you kind of fall back to, at least I do, into that, hey, don't limit yourself. Why am I going after a $500 market when I honestly could just as easily go into a $5 million market? And I'm not getting into the business models of business models, but this idea, though, again, in this situation, it's like, hey man, it'd be nice to do, maybe land a whale every once in a while. It'd be nice to have a big payday. And you know what? I'm allowed to, because if not me, somebody else will in the same marketplace. So, that idea of, again, kind of swing for the bleachers, and don't be afraid to think bigger, even if it hurts you to even try and choke out the number $5 million. You if you don't talk about it, you'll always be uncomfortable. So talk about it and be comfortable about it. But this guy clearly also was, he wants people to go out and make money off of wealthy people to manage their wealth. I get it, but I took a lot from it, and I find myself um, thinking about that, and also passing that along, especially to veterans as they're making the transition, and not so much this, hey, go out and make a lot of dough so you can drive a Rolls Royce, but it's like, go out and dream big. Don't be afraid. You've been through worse before. You're allowed to. You never have to settle. As I was a lower enlisted guy, or was a young officer. You never have to just settle, like only generals can do this, and sergeant majors. Like, no, you got a seat at the table, Bob. You're allowed to dream big and go out and do good things. So anyway, that's my treasure
Mhm.
from the days that I keep with me. Just about every day, and certainly all the days I'm doing business.
Well, I like that advice. That's a great treasure, a great motto, piece of advice to live by because, when you talk about, veterans kind of putting themselves in a box, veterans are very humble people. I mean, being, in JDog and um, they tend not to really talk about their service. It sometimes it's hard to even tell that they're veterans unless they're wearing a T-shirt or have a hat on or something. And I always tell people in my class, my JDOL culture and customer service class, the first thing I tell them is, "You're humble about your service. I know you are. I've met so many veterans that are. Well, guess what? That stops today." Today that stops. The reason why is because you're a veteran, but you're a business owner. And what you have to understand is that people are going to want to know that you're a veteran. They're going to want to know to be able to support your business. They're going to want to use you. So that's the whole premise behind what makes JDog JDog. And so you need to portray that. You need to portray that to your customers, for your business, for the JDog brand. I mean, we're a brand, and and you can dream big. You can reach for the stars. You can be a business owner. you know um, and really it's all about, are you willing to put yourself out there and, like you say, swing for the bleachers. So yeah, we talk a lot about that, and I think that's great advice, and veterans need to hear that.
Well, thank you. I'm glad that now there's two of us that think it was good advice, so that'll
Yeah,
work. But it's hard though, Tracy.
it is.
And I'm sure you see it when when you're talking to these men and women. Like
Mhm.
we're telling you, you got to put it all out there. You got to have a new identity, but you got to keep a little bit of your old self, and you
Sure.
also got to have your business personality. And
Mhm.
it can be very conflicting. It can be very
Mhm.
hard. We tend, when we're nervous, we shrink back and we're like, oh well, I'll just do whatever I can to not fail. And it's like, buddy,
Right.
again, you're allowed
Yeah.
to go after the big ones and
Yeah.
hit it hard. And again, there's no report card in life other than the final one that the good Lord gives us. So
Right.
do your best, and if it doesn't work, try it again or try something else. You
Right.
just keep going. Listen, as I said, I've had 3 jobs in 10 years, and they all ended rather poorly. But hey, man, you dust yourself off and go on. Nobody's going to judge me. Maybe they do, but nah, I'm not worried about what other
Yeah.
people
It's
think.
all
Just
about how you pick
keep trying to
yourself
take
up and
care.
dust yourself off, right? And go forward, right? You always got
Yeah,
to move
absolutely.
forward. So, before you go, where can people find you?
Yeah, so we have a website, eversmanadvisory.com. It's my last name, advisory, all one word.com. Pretty easy to find on LinkedIn. But that's really the main thing. Come find me on the website and shoot me a note. They've got a contact page, and love to chat, or LinkedIn is a good place to find. And yeah, I would love, always. We're the company that, generally speaking, always says yes. So always make time for anybody who's interested to chat about transition and leadership development and growth and that kind of stuff.
That's great. And everybody, if you want to go take a look at this book is Walk in My Combat Boots. And I've read this book. It has stories of servicemen and women who served in our latest conflict in the Middle East, Iraq and Afghanistan. Some great stuff in this book. You can find all of Matt's books on Amazon. They're in Kindle, Audible, and paperback. Check them out. I think I'm going to go there and start stocking up myself. Matt,
Well, I hope you
really,
will. I
I
hope you
will.
will, Tracy. I hope
Yeah,
everybody, that walk in our combat boots. Jim Patterson and I did that, and
yeah,
we're very proud. I must say, it hit #1 on the New York Times bestseller
yeah.
list. Just came out in paperback, which will save you a few bucks. It's a good predecessor to ER Nurses,
Hmm.
which is still out
That's
in
your newest
hardback
one,
about the
right?
fabulous men and women that take care of us in the ER. And this February, we've got a third book about cops that's
Oh,
coming out, which is going to be magnificent. It will be an amazing read, much like these two, about the men and women that protect and serve and keep us safe every day, whether we know it or not.
oh,
So
wow.
it's exciting times, and we're thankful for you all to take a peek inside the cover.
Yeah, yeah, I'm excited too. So this book actually sits in our office, Matt, in a shadow box. I just need you to make your way to Pennsylvania because you have to sign it for me.
Absolutely. Well, the next time I am up that way, I will definitely come by the command post and sign it and kick a few tires for sure.
Yeah, that would be really fabulous. Um, yeah, I'm excited. I think my next one's going to be the book of Black Hawk Down. I didn't realize it started as a book first before the movie, so I think I'm going to have to go back and read that.
It's a good one. It's a good easy read. It's as you said, it's a tough read, but it is pretty easy to read. So
It's
I hope you
okay.
will.
It's tough, we need to understand, what the men and women have done for our country who have signed on the dotted line. I think so. I'm excited to read it. Matt, thank you
And
so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to appear on Tactical Treasures podcast. It was a pleasure, as always, speaking with you, sir. Um, Take care. And everybody, check out eversmanadvisory.com or Amazon for the books. Thanks a lot. Take care.
thank you, Tracy. I appreciate it. Have a great day. God bless.
You too. God bless. Bye bye.